I spent 3 years saving for a family trip to Miami, only to find out 2 days before departure that I was no longer needed. Now, I'm sitting on a plane surrounded by women I barely know, and for the first time in years, I feel at home. Dear viewers, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Enjoy the show. My name is Eleanor Mackenzie, I'm 71 years old, and today I realized I've spent my entire life living for others. This revelation didn't come from a sunset epiphany or a wise passage in a book. It hit me like a lightning bolt through a text message from my only son, Daniel. Mom, we need to talk about the trip. Sophia thinks it's best if just her family goes this time. I hope you understand. I read those words 10 times, sitting in my old rocking chair on the porch of my suburban Atlanta home. The home I've lived in for 43 years. The home where Daniel was born and raised. The home I turned into a museum of memories for Robert, my late husband. The Miami trip was my dream. Not just a vacation, but a dream I nurtured for 3 long years. Every dollar I saved, every small joy I denied myself, every sacrifice I made was for one purpose: to give my family the same magic I felt with Robert during our honeymoon in Miami in 1975. Robert passed away 4 years ago from pancreatic cancer. In his final months, I sat by his hospital bed holding his hand, telling him stories of how we danced on South Beach under the stars. He'd smile his weak but still warm smile and whisper, "Ellie, promise me you'll keep making memories. Not for me, for yourself." I didn't keep that promise. Instead, I buried myself in caring for others, in trying to be needed, in an endless quest to earn the love I thought was my birthright. Daniel married Sophia 5 years ago. Sophia, a beautiful 32-year-old lawyer with a sharp mind and an even sharper tongue. They have 2 children, 8-year-old Jacob and 5-year-old Emma, my grandchildren, whom I adore with all my heart, but as it turns out, can only love from a distance. Sophia never hid her feelings about me. To her, I was a relic of the past, an inconvenient reminder that Daniel had a life before her. Every family dinner became a subtle war, where she wielded her legal skills to highlight my inadequacies. "Eleanor, dear," she'd say with saccharine sweetness, "don't you think Jacob's had enough sweets? I read a study about the impact of sugar on children's behavior." That was after I baked his favorite chocolate cupcakes for his birthday. Or, "Eleanor, I appreciate your willingness to help with the kids, but we have our own parenting system. It's important for all adults to be consistent." Translation: shut up and stay out of it. Daniel, my son, whom I raised alone after his father came back from the military with PTSD and battled depression for years. Daniel, to whom I read every night, whom I supported through every failure and triumph, who hugged me and said, "Mom, you're the best in the world." That Daniel was gone. In his place was a 35-year-old man who chose peace in his marriage over confronting his wife. "Mom, you know how hard it is for Sophia," he'd explain after another conflict. "She works 70 hours a week and then there's the kids at home. Maybe you could step back a little?" Step back. As if I were an army laying siege to their family fortress. So I stepped back. Again and again. I stopped showing up uninvited. I stopped cooking Sunday dinners. I stopped offering to help with the kids. I became a shadow in their lives, appearing only when it suited them. Then came the idea for the Miami trip. It was my attempt to reclaim my family, to show Sophia and Daniel that I wasn't just a burden, that I could offer something valuable. I spent months planning. I researched hotels, restaurants, attractions. I booked a penthouse at the same hotel where Robert and I honeymooned, the Fontainebleau Miami Beach. 4 bedrooms, a terrace with an ocean view, a rooftop pool. Sophia always complained they couldn't afford a real vacation. "Daniel's a teacher. Do you know how little teachers make?" she'd say, rolling her eyes. "We barely make ends meet, even with my salary." That wasn't true. Daniel taught at a private school, and Sophia worked at a prestigious law firm. Their combined income was well over $200,000 a year, but I stayed silent. Instead, I offered to cover all expenses for a family vacation. "Mom, that's too much," Daniel said when I first brought it up. "We can't accept a gift like that." "I want to do this," I insisted. "For the kids, for all of us. Robert always said memories are the only wealth you can't lose." Sophia frowned. "How much will it cost?" "Don't worry about it. It's my gift to the family." She glanced at Daniel, and I saw the silent conversation between them. He shrugged, as if to say, "If Mom wants to spend her money, why not?" "Fine," Sophia said with a tight smile. "That's very generous of you, Eleanor." In that moment, I felt a happiness I hadn't known in years. I was needed again. I could give them something they couldn't get without me. The next 3 years were a marathon of saving. I skipped monthly salon visits and learned to cut my own hair. I stopped buying takeout and cooked everything at home. I canceled cable TVs, keeping only basic channels. Instead of replacing my aging car when it started acting up, I learned to fix it myself with YouTube tutorials. Every dollar saved went into a separate account I called Miami Dream. By the end of the second year, I had $30,000. By the end of the third, $48,000. I planned every detail, first-class flights for everyone, a week in the penthouse, dinners at the city's finest restaurants, yacht tours, shopping at Bal Harbor for Sophia, a day trip to Disney World for the kids, even though it was in Orlando. But the centerpiece was a special evening I envisioned on the beach at the same hotel where Robert and I danced 49 years ago. I wanted to light lavender candles, his favorite scent, in his memory and share stories of their grandfather with the kids, passing on the magic we felt in that place. 2 weeks before the trip, Sophia started acting strange, colder than usual, which was saying something. When I visited, she'd disappear into her home office, leaving me with Daniel and the kids. "Is everything okay?" I asked Daniel after one such visit. "Sophia seems upset." "She's got a lot going on at work," he said quickly, avoiding my eyes. "Big case. She's just tired." I believed him, or wanted to. Then came the text. "Mom, we need to talk about the trip. Sophia thinks it's best if just her family goes this time. I hope you understand." I sat on the porch, hands trembling as I held my phone, rereading the words, hoping their meaning would change, that it was a typo, that Daniel meant something else. But no, the meaning was crystal clear. I dialed his number. "Hey, Mom," he answered, his voice laced with guilt. "Daniel, what does this text mean?" A long pause. I heard him take a deep breath. "Mom, Sophia feels... She thinks a family vacation should just be for our immediate family. She wants it to be a time for the 4 of us." "The 4 of you? And who am I, Daniel? Not family?" "Mom, you know that's not true. Of course you're family, but Sophia's pregnant." The world stopped. "What?" "We found out last week. It's still early, but the doctor says she can travel. Sophia wants this trip to be a special memory for our growing family. And I can't be part of that memory?" "Mom, you don't understand. Sophia feels uncomfortable. She says you're always critiquing her parenting choices." "Me? When have I critiqued her?" "Well, like when you said Emma shouldn't watch so many cartoons. I said that once, and only because she was glued to the TV for 4 hours. Mom, it's not about specific examples. It's the overall feeling. Sophia feels like you judge her." "Judge her? Daniel, I spent 3 years saving for this trip. I gave up everything. I wanted to create beautiful memories for our family. We know, Mom, and we're grateful. But stop. Just stop." I felt anger rising in my chest, like lava in a volcano. "Let me talk to Sophia." Mom, I don't think that's a good idea. Daniel Robert Mackenzie, let me speak to my daughter-in-law. Now. Another pause, then muffled voices. Finally, Sophia came on the line. Hello, Eleanor. Her voice was cold, businesslike. Sophia, explain to me what's going on. I think Daniel already explained. No, he didn't. He said you feel uncomfortable because of me. I want to hear it from you. Silence. Then Sophia sighed deeply. Fine, Eleanor. Since we're being honest, I think you're too overbearing. You're constantly meddling in our parenting, giving unsolicited advice, making comments about how we run our household. Examples? Last week you said Jacob should read more and play fewer video games. A month ago you criticized me for buying frozen meals instead of cooking from scratch. 2 months ago, Sophia, that's not criticism. That's a grandmother caring about her grandchildren. Maybe to you it's caring. To me, it's a constant message that I'm a bad mother. I never said you're a bad mother. You don't have to say it outright, Eleanor. There are plenty of ways to make someone feel they don't measure up to your standards. I felt my breath catch. Sophia, I spent 3 years of my life scrimping and saving to give this vacation to our family. My family. And we're grateful for that. Truly. But it's not about the money, Eleanor. Then what's it about? It's about our family. Daniel, me, and the kids. Sometimes we need time alone without outside influence. Outside influence. I was an outside influence to my own son. I understand, I said quietly. You do? Yes, I understand. And I did. Finally. Eleanor, this doesn't mean we don't appreciate or love you. It's just, Sophia, can you put Daniel back on? Of course. Mom? Daniel's voice was uncertain. Daniel, I want you to know I understand. If you want to go without me, that's your right. Mom, thank you for understanding. I know this is hard, but there's one small problem. What? The trip is paid for from my bank account, and I'm going to freeze it. Silence. A long, heavy silence. What? What do you mean? I mean exactly what I said. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to the bank and freezing the Miami Dream account. All bookings paid from it will be canceled. Mom, you can't do that, can I? Daniel, it's my money. Money I saved for a family vacation. If the family vacation is off, so is the funding. But the kids, they're so excited for this trip. Then you'll have to find a way to make their dreams come true on your own. Or ask Sophia to do it. She's in charge of family decisions now, isn't she? Mom, you can't be this vindictive. Vindictive. The word stung like a slap. Daniel, this isn't vengeance. It's self-respect. Something I lost somewhere along the way but found again today. Mom, wait. Maybe we can find a compromise. No, Daniel. The time for compromises is over. 3 years ago when I proposed this trip, that was a compromise. 2 years ago, when I stopped visiting without an invitation, that was a compromise. A year ago, when I stopped sharing my opinions on parenting, that was a compromise. Today, compromises end. Mom, goodbye, Daniel. Tell Sophia I wish her an easy pregnancy. I hung up and sat in the silence of my home, a home where every picture on the wall told a story of a family that, as it turned out, no longer existed. The next morning, I woke at 6, showered, and put on my best dress, a navy blue one with white flowers that Robert always called my mermaid dress. Then I drove to the bank. Mrs. Mackenzie, greeted Carol, the young client manager, how can I help you today? I want to freeze the Miami Dream account and cancel all automatic payments tied to it. Of course. May I ask why? Plans changed. Carol nodded, typing on her computer. I see recent large payments for a hotel and flights. Are you sure you want to freeze it? It could affect your bookings. That's exactly what I want. All right. There'll be a small fee for early cancellation of some transactions. No problem. An hour later, it was done. My $48,000 were mine again. All bookings paid from the account were canceled, with penalties deducted. I sat in my old Honda in the bank parking lot, just breathing. For the first time in years, I felt free. Not happy, not sad. Free. My phone rang. Daniel. Mom, what did you do? The hotel just called and said our booking's canceled. I know. How could you? The kids are crying. Sophia's in hysterics. Daniel, I did exactly what I said I would. Nothing more, nothing less. But it's cruel. Cruel? You know what's cruel? Saving for 3 years, denying myself everything, dreaming of family memories, only to be told I'm not needed in those memories. Cruel is being used as an ATM but not invited to the family table. Mom, that's not how it is. Daniel, tell me honestly, when was the last time you called me just to talk? Not because you needed money or help with the kids, but just to talk to your mom? Silence. When was the last time you invited me to dinner? Not out of duty, but because you wanted to spend time with me. Longer silence. When was the last time you hugged me and said you love me without expecting something in return? Mom, don't answer. We both know the answer. What do you want from me? An apology? Daniel, I don't want anything from you. For the first time in years, I don't want anything from you. And you know what? It feels incredible. So you're not my mother anymore? That question pierced me like a knife. I'll always be your mother. But I'm done being a convenient mother. I'm done being the mother who pays for everything and quietly takes disrespect. I'm done begging for scraps of love. What kind of mother will you be then? I'll be a mother who loves herself enough to demand respect. And if that doesn't work for you and Sophia, that's your problem, not mine. I hung up and drove home. At home, a surprise awaited. On my porch sat Rose Peterson, my 75-year-old widowed neighbor who moved in 3 years ago after her husband's death. We'd exchanged pleasantries over the fence, but were never close. Eleanor, dear, she said, standing from my steps, I hope you don't mind me waiting here. I saw you leave this morning and you looked upset. I'm fine, Rose, just handling some family matters. May I come in? I brought coffee and homemade cookies. I looked at this woman, practically a stranger, yet showing me more care in 5 minutes than my family had in months. Of course, come in. We sat at my kitchen table, and Rose poured coffee from a thermos. The cookies were divine, chocolate chip with pecans. Eleanor, I don't want to pry, but you've seemed lost these past few days. If you need to talk. And to my surprise, I told her everything. About the Miami dream, the 3 years of saving, being excluded from the trip, freezing the account. Rose listened quietly, nodding occasionally and refilling my coffee. You know, she said when I finished, I have a similar story. Really? My son lives in California with his wife and 2 kids. For the last 5 years, I flew out for every holiday, gave expensive gifts, helped with the kids. Then last Thanksgiving, my daughter-in-law told me I was too involved, and they needed space to build their own family traditions. What did you do? The same as you. I stopped being the convenient grandma, stopped flying out, stopped sending birthday money, and you know what happened? What? Nothing. They didn't even notice. It hurt, but it was honest. We sat in silence, sipping coffee, reflecting on how easily families take sacrifices for granted. Eleanor, what are you going to do with that money? The $48,000? I honestly didn't know. No idea. Can I make a suggestion? Sure. Go to Miami. Alone. Alone? Rose, I'm 71. I haven't traveled alone since I got married. That's exactly why you need to do it. Eleanor, you've spent your life taking care of others. First your husband, then your son, then your grandkids. When was the last time you did something just for you? I tried to remember and couldn't, but I don't know how to travel alone. I do, and guess what? I want to go with you. What? I'm 75 and I've spent my life on others too. My pension can cover my share of the costs. Let's have the adventure we deserve. I looked at Rose and saw the same hunger for life I felt in myself. The same call to freedom we'd both been denied too long. But we barely know each other. Eleanor, dear, sometimes the best adventures start that way, with the strangers who become chosen family, not blood family. Something clicked in my head. Chosen family. People who value your presence, not your wallet. Rose, what if we invited others? Other women who feel invisible too? Rose's eyes lit up. I mean finding other women who've spent their lives caring for families, only to be discarded when they're no longer needed. Creating our own family for this trip. Eleanor, that's brilliant. I have a friend from book club, Margaret. Her daughter moved across the country and said Margaret calls too much. And there's Dorothy from church. Her grandkids think she's outdated and don't want to spend time with her. And I have a neighbor, Mrs. Cheng. Her son married a woman who won't let her see her grandkids unsupervised because she spoils them too much. We spent the next 2 hours making a list. By the end of the day, we had 6 names: Rose, me, Margaret from book club, Dorothy from church, Mrs. Cheng, and Gloria, a woman Rose met at the senior center. Gloria, recently widowed, was largely ignored by her adult children who were fighting over her late husband's estate. 6 women, Rose said, folding our list. 6 women who deserve an adventure. But Rose, it's going to cost... Eleanor, you have $48,000 meant for a family vacation. Now you have a family, just a different one. A family that will cherish every minute with you. Over the next week, we contacted everyone on our list. The response was the same: disbelief, then cautious hope, then overwhelming joy. Margaret, a refined 73-year-old former librarian, cried when Rose told her the plan. I haven't been on a vacation in 7 years, she admitted. After Harold died, I thought my traveling days were over. Dorothy, a spirited 70-year-old retired nurse, was characteristically blunt. Hell yes, when do we leave? Mrs. Cheng, 78 and a lifelong seamstress, hesitated at first. My kids won't understand, she said. They'll say I'm spending their inheritance. But when Rose explained that expenses were covered, her face lit up. Then let's go. I've always wanted to see Miami. Gloria, the youngest at 68, was thrilled. Girls, she said when we gathered at my house to plan, this is the best idea I've heard in years. My kids will be shocked when they hear their mom jetted off to Miami with a crew of girlfriends. We spent 3 days replanning the trip. Instead of one penthouse, I booked 2 adjacent suites at the same hotel. Instead of family-friendly activities, we chose spa treatments, wine tastings, art gallery tours, and shopping. But most importantly, I shared my plan for the lavender candles on the beach. It'll be our ceremony, I explained. Not just for my Robert, but for all the men we loved and lost. And for us, women who survived and deserve happiness. The day before we left, Daniel called again. Mom, I've been thinking about our conversation. Daniel, I'm packing. I don't have time for a long talk. Packing? You're going somewhere? To Miami. A pause. Miami? But I thought, Sophia said you canceled the trip. I canceled your trip. My trip is going as planned. Your trip? Mom, you can't go to Miami alone. I'm not going alone. I'm going with friends. What friends? You don't have friends. That hurt, but it was true. I'd spent so many years focused on family that I'd neglected other relationships. I do now, I said calmly. 5 wonderful women who value my company. Mom, this is ridiculous. You don't know these women. Daniel, I know them enough to trust they won't cut me out of plans after I've paid for everything. Another painful pause. Mom, if this is about the money, we can pay you back. Daniel, it's not about the money. It never was. Then what's it about? It's about feeling wanted, about being part of a family, not just a funding source, about being loved for who I am, not what I can give. Mom, we do love you. Daniel, love isn't just words. It's actions. It's inclusion, not exclusion. It's respect, not exploitation. What do you want me to do? Nothing, son. I don't want anything from you anymore. Enjoy your new pregnancy, your marriage, your kids, but do it without expecting me to bankroll your happiness while being left out of it. What if we change plans? Invite you to come with us? Daniel, that would be pity, not love. I don't accept pity from my family anymore. Mom, goodbye, son. I'll see you when I'm back. I hung up and resumed packing. Into my suitcase went outfits I hadn't worn in years. Bright colors Robert loved seeing me in, jewelry that sat untouched in a box, and a new dress, a vibrant turquoise one I bought for this trip. A dress that screamed, I'm alive, I'm beautiful, and I deserve to be seen. The next morning, Rose picked me up in a taxi to the airport where the others were waiting. Ready for an adventure? She asked as I locked my house. Ready, I replied, and for the first time in years, it was the absolute truth. At the airport, I saw our group and was struck by their transformation. Margaret wore an elegant blazer and scarf, her silver hair styled beautifully. Dorothy sparkled in a bright red jacket, her energy contagious. Mrs. Cheng looked like a movie star in a tailored navy suit she'd clearly made herself. Gloria was stunning in a lavender dress with pearl earrings. Girls, Dorothy said as we gathered, look at us. We look like $1 million. We feel like $1 million, Margaret added. On the first-class flight, we sat in pairs but chatted across the aisle. The flight attendants treated us like royalty, charmed by our group of elegant older women embarking on an adventure. Is this your first time in Miami? One attendant asked. For most of us, yes, I replied. We're celebrating a new beginning. What a wonderful reason to travel. During the flight, we shared our stories. Margaret spoke of her daughter moving to Seattle, calling only on major holidays. She says she doesn't have time for small talk, she said sadly. I didn't know my stories about books and gardening were small talk. Dorothy told us about her teenage grandkids who think she's too old to understand their world. I worked in the ER for 30 years, she said bitterly. I've seen things that would make those kids' hair turn white, but they think I don't get real life. Mrs. Cheng shared how her daughter-in-law banned her from buying clothes for her grandkids because she ruins their taste with old-fashioned designs. I've sewn for 50 years, she said softly, but now my craft isn't good enough. Gloria's story was the most painful. After her husband's death, her children immediately fought over his estate, barely acknowledging her existence. They visit once a month, check if my will's in order, and leave, she said. It's like I'm already dead and they're just waiting for confirmation. But something strange happened. As we shared these painful stories, they lost some of their power. Shared pain became lighter. And most importantly, we understood each other without needing explanations. We didn't have to justify the hurt of feeling invisible in our own families. You know, girls, Rose said as the plane descended over Miami, I think we're starting to figure something out." "What's that?" I asked. "That family isn't just blood. Sometimes real family is the people who choose you and who you choose back." When we landed in Miami, the air was warm and humid, laced with the salty scent of the ocean. I breathed deeply, feeling something inside me come alive. "Girls," I said as we piled into the limousine I'd booked to take us to the hotel, "welcome to our new life." The Fontainebleau Miami beach was even more breathtaking than I remembered. 49 years ago, I was a young bride here, in love and full of hope. Now I returned as a woman who'd known pain, loss, and betrayal, but also her own strength. Our suites were on the 22nd floor with stunning views of the Atlantic Ocean. As we gathered in one suite to unpack and sip champagne I'd ordered, I felt a happiness I hadn't known in years. "To us," I said, raising my glass, "to women who refuse to stay invisible." "To new beginnings," Margaret added. "To real friendship," Dorothy said. "To chosen family," Mrs. Chung said. "To adventures at 70, Gloria laughed. "To loving ourselves," Rose finished. We clinked glasses, and I felt tears of joy stream down my cheeks. Our first day was spent exploring the hotel and beach. I showed the girls the spot where Robert and I danced under the stars. It was now a modern terrace with a bar, but the magic lingered. "Tonight," I said, "we'll hold our ceremony here, with the lavender candles." That evening, as the sun set over the Atlantic, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, we gathered on the beach, each holding a lavender candle. "These candles," I began, "are lit in memory of the men we loved and lost, but also for us, women who survived, who still love, who deserve to be loved." One by one, we lit our candles. Margaret lit hers for Harold, her husband of 45 years. Dorothy for Charlie, who died of a heart attack 3 years ago. Mrs. Cheng for James, her partner of 52 years. Gloria for Richard, who battled Alzheimer's for 5 years. Rose for Frank, her first and only love. I lit mine for Robert, the man who taught me what true love was, but also for the new Eleanor, the woman who finally learned to value herself. "Now," I said as the candles burned brightly, "let's talk about the future, about who we want to be, not who we were." We sat on the beach until late, sharing dreams we'd kept secret for too long. Margaret wanted to write a book about her years as a librarian. Dorothy planned to volunteer at a local hospital. Mrs. affected. "It's a new chapter, not an ending." He went quiet and I could hear him searching for words. Finally, he said, "I get it. And I want to make this right. I promise, Mom, I'll do whatever it takes to make you feel needed again." "I don't want to feel needed, Daniel. I want to feel loved. You are loved. I just didn't know how to show it." "Then learn, son. You have time, but I won't wait forever." We ended the call on that note, not fully reconciled, but with something like hope. I knew rebuilding our relationship would be a long, hard road, but I wasn't afraid anymore, because now I had my own life, my own goals, my own people. The next months were a whirlwind. Rose, Margaret, Dorothy, Mrs. Cheng, Gloria, and I began house hunting. After much discussion and several trips, we settled on a spacious 2-story home in Sarasota, Florida, with 6 bedrooms, a large garden, and a view of the bay. Each of us contributed savings, with my Miami dream money as the foundation for the purchase. We named our home Haven of Wisdom. It was a place where we could be ourselves, where our age and experience were treasures, not burdens. Each of us took on a role. Margaret started a library and hosted literary evenings. Dorothy tended the garden and volunteered at a local hospital. Mrs. Cheng opened a small sewing studio in the house to teach others. Gloria revived her passion for painting and began selling her work at local markets. And Rose became our diplomat, building ties with the community. I organized gatherings and events. We started weekly dinners, inviting other women from Sarasota who, like us, felt invisible in their families or communities. Our Wisdom Circle dinners became a place where women of all ages shared stories, found support, and drew inspiration. Soon they were known across town. 6 months after moving, Daniel, Sophia, and the kids visited Sarasota. It was their first trip, and I was nervous, unsure what to expect. But when I opened the door and saw Jacob and Emma running toward me, shouting, "Grandma Ellie!" my heart melted. Sophia looked different, less tense, more open. She hugged me and said, "Eleanor, I owe you an apology. I was unfair to you. I was afraid you'd take control of the family, but now I see you just wanted to be part of it." I looked into her eyes and saw sincerity. "Sophia, I never wanted control. I wanted to share, and I still do. But now I know how to set boundaries." She nodded. "I get it, and I want to learn to be better." Daniel had changed too. He was more attentive, calling just to chat, helping me install a new shelf in my room, even attending one of our Wisdom Circle dinners to hear other women's stories. "Mom," he said before they left, "I'm proud of you. You've built something incredible here." I smiled. "I just built a home, Daniel. A home where everyone feels wanted." Now, a year later, I sit on the porch of our Sarasota home, watching the sunset over the bay. Rose sips lemonade beside me, while Margaret and Dorothy's voices drift from inside, debating the next book for our club. Mrs. Cheng is sewing a dress for Gloria, who's preparing for her first solo art show. My phone buzzes. A text from Jacob. "Grandma, you coming to my birthday? I want another story about Grandpa Robert." I smile and reply, "Of course, sweetheart. I'll be there, and I'll bring lavender candles." I set the phone down and gaze at the horizon. For the first time in years, I feel at home. Not in the house I left behind, but in the life I've created. A life where I'm not just a mother, grandmother, or widow, but Eleanor Mackenzie, a woman who learned to love herself and share that love with the world. And that, I think, is the greatest adventure of all. Dear viewers, if you enjoyed the story, give it a like and share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you won't miss new exciting stories. See you tomorrow.